Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and hey, you can do this. Because this is Airwindows cabs. This is what we were waiting for when we first did Edge. Without it, you got nothing but the output of Edge, but with it, we've got a Airwindows style cabinet simulator. Now you see we've got cab type, intense, RM loud, which means room loud, cab size, off axis, and output. And here's what these things do. Cab type is a variety of different kinds of sounds, like your HP stack. That's maybe your kind of JCM 800 style sound. Vintage is going to be more your greenbacks, your classic Marshall kind of thing. None of these are exact. They're approximations of things. They're kind of inventions. Boutique, this is more your Mesa kind of thing. Large C, that's going to be a kind of Fender Twin style thing, although our Edge is not set up to highlight that. Small C, your Champ and Princeton kind of thing. And bass amp is what you might imagine. It's a bass amp, it's even larger speakers. Note that you need to also update cab size to have these really work properly. So let's go back to vintage. You might ask what intense is. That's basically the depth of the speaker cabinet coloration, which can become over-exaggerated if you would like. So we can go from this to basically the output of Edge directly, but running through the room loud effect anyhow. To an exaggerated effect. So you kind of dial in the voice of that. Now, room loud is something that's a little more interesting. Check this out. Room loud is the amount of space between you and the speaker cabinet. No room loud means it's effectively the speaker through a power soak and right up front. So you do this for little tiny amps and things which you want to be very clean and clear. And as you can see, it starts getting louder as we go further. So Notice I'm letting the low E string ring here. And we can exaggerate it to extreme levels. Sort of enormous PA thunder kind of effect. Or realistic amp effect. That's closer to what a real amp would be like rather than a million times louder than a real amp. Now this cab size thing has to do with the low end on it, so let's play an A minor with the low E in there just to fill up the tone a lot. It also interacts with off axis, so if you place it really off axis, you're getting the maximum of that. Again, up to an exaggerated effect. And a little tiny cab size. This might be what you got if you had, say, small cabinet. And it wouldn't be as loud, so and that's sort of your lead sound for sort of more rock-oriented stuff. We'll go back to a bigger one, or perhaps something intermediate, like large C is more like an open back cab. So we'll increase the size a bit and go a little more on axis. And again, we can tune intense. Nice sort of sonorous thing going on there. And of course, if we want it to be sonorous, rather than having the room loud be this low or this low, for a nice clear sound, let's turn up the room loudness. This is going to make the speaker get louder, as a large cabinet in the style of a Fender Twin might. We got the nice sort of chuggy effect. Or a wall of Fender Twins. But hey, there is more. Let's fool around with this boutique setting here. So this would be more along the lines of your Marshall, Mesa kind of thing. So the cab size would be on the larger size. We might have it fairly on axis. Oh wait, that's not what we use for a Mesa. That's more like what we'd use. It's turned up. So that's a very big high gain amp. But wait, there's more. Remember how I did a plugin called Guitar Conditioner once? Which is designed to be like a in-the-box tube screamer style? Well, guess what? That works here. Without. With. Oh, but wait. Let's get even more intense. How about we make this supposed amp that is very high gain already louder? Louder. All the distortion, everything louder than everything else. Louder. There you are, and that is from this. All in the box. Also, since the Airwindows approach to this kind of stuff is working out fairly well, what we got is the ability to represent chords and things like that. At the most insanely highest gains you could possibly ask for. And now that we can do those unreasonably high gains, I can show you a couple of other tricks as well. Like, long as we're doing this, what if we cut the gain way back? Let's run into that little tiny amp. This might be a little more PV-like than Fender-like because we're using edge on it, but maybe I'll be able to set it to work much less loud. Cab size will be quite small. We'll be kind of off axis because it'll be so bright anyway. And we'll exaggerate the smallness of the amp sound by having it be the high pass fairly high on the distortion. This is where you should rein in distortion on this kind of sound. let's turn the amp up a little bit so we can round that sound out. We do that with room loud. Airwindows cabs. Here, just a second. Can I take off the guitar? Probably not. Okay, let's loop that wire over there and not send it to the output. And there we go. So Airwindows cabs is a AU and VST plugin. On the Mac, it is both retro and signed AU and VST, meaning it should run on systems as old as Snow Leopard or earlier, and on systems as new as the very newest stuff. It is, did I say free? It is free because all of this is open source. I am Patreon supported, so I don't have to charge for the individual plugins. And people being on Patreon was what got me here, so that I can be making things like this for you. Now, there's another thing. You might or might not have noticed my audio CPU meter up in the corner there. That's a little bit different than it used to be because I have been doing some work on the efficiency of the plugins, and Cabs is built, along with Edge, in fact, on a new bus length. I've talked about this before. Airwindows is now running at double precision, much like the full bucket synthesizers and things like that, and not doing long double precision because I found that it wasn't making a significant difference, but I could get almost twice as much CPU efficiency out of running double precision. Now, I did the calculations on this, and with my full live streaming setup, I was running 67% CPU with long double, 32% CPU with double precision, meaning that I could run about twice as much stuff if I wanted. And I also tried making float and running everything on a floating point bus, which I do not think is advisable. And that is 30%. Here, just a moment. Yeah, if I take off the headphones, then I can take off the guitar. So, I did these experiments and I found some interesting things. One of them was that the Mac M1 processors seem not to care what word length you're using. They all seem to work out the same if you are just using the same code and running it through, which is interesting, and it implies that you'd be able to run long double quite easily if you wanted to. I'm not absolutely confident that that's everything that I think it is. On an Intel machine like the one that I'm using for the desktop, I'm seeing huge differences, and the big difference is between the long double and the double precision. So I'm in the process of going through and refurbishing literally all the Airwindows plugins to run on the double precision bus, again, like the full bucket synths and things like that, and optimizing it for that. I feel that even if there is a loss, which I'm not hearing, and it's my business to try to hear these things, even if there's a loss through not doing long double calculations, doubling the CPU efficiency on some hosts means that you'd be able to run twice the sample rate, and that's what my stuff is geared to do these days. The stuff you were just hearing was a 96K. That's how I was getting those guitar tones with that amount of distortion, is that all the little distortion stages had biquad filtering between each stage. So here's the thing. And excuse me while I... The rabbit hole goes a little bit deeper than that. I started to go through and edit all of these plugins because right now I would not draw from my GitHub repository right now because it is in a state of flux. Things are being changed. And among the things that are being changed is Linux support. I've been putting out Linux VST plugins. They're VST 2.4s. And there are some concerns with using the function rand, as in random number generating, on Linux in audio threads. Because if you call rand on Linux, it can block the audio thread waiting for its result. It's trying to get apparently like some kind of cryptographically secure result, and it is not an efficient thing. And a bunch of my plugins are calling rand in various places. So I thought I would go in and fix that. And I thought I would go in and have all of the denormalization code be the code that I'm using currently for that, which is like a microscopic background noise only if there is not already a microscopic background noise in there. So it should produce more of a analog console type feel off of the result without making audible noise because it is, again, microscopic. It's just not microscopic on the level that denormalization noise sometimes is. Because remember, floating point gets quiet very, very effectively. And there's more. The dithering to floating point that I use. Not all the plugins have used the same dithering to floating point. Some of the older ones stuck with what they were previously coded to do. Now they do. Now everything is current. And this is becoming a major undertaking. It's probably greater than the undertaking of porting all of the plugins to 64-bit back in the day when they were only audio unit. Maybe not as big as the undertaking of literally coding Linux VSTs or Windows VSTs for the first time. So this is going to be a slog, but I think it is going to be worth it because the end result will be using 2 or 3 times as many Airwindows plugins as you used to be able to do, what with bringing all this stuff up to date. And my hope is that once I once I figure out where I leave off as far as bringing everything up to speed, I will grind through, probably on live streams, like I'm doing live streams, and get all of the new builds done with these updates. The changing long doubles to doubles should be a pretty straightforward update. All these other ones, not so much. They're a little more involved. But generally what I can do is build the plugin. If it builds, I'm probably all set. And if it blows an error, then I can go in and fix it. For, 250 individual plugins now? So we're going to see. And then once I'm finished doing all of that, I'm going to start going through and building, the downloads for when the plugin is downloaded. You go like cabs.zip, which is what you'd be doing today. And you get the plugin with a little folder inside saying retro. And retro is the old school audio unit and Mac VST and the Windows 32-bit. That kind of stuff with the DMG file in there for the signed Mac audio unit and DMG, and VST. All of the plugins should have that on their web pages. If you went to the web page, you should be able to download that and not stuff from, a few years ago. And updating 250 web pages is also a lot of work, so I'll be doing that on stream too. And I will go through and make the little package for individual download, go to the website, and upload that on stream, at which point anybody watching the live stream as I'm doing this will be able to download that immediately. And then you'll have the new updated version with these improvements on it. And of course, if there is a problem with any of them, I would like to hear about it. I'm sure I will. And once I'm finished doing that, then I will put together the updated collections of all the plugins together. And then we'll be done. And I'll be continuing to put out more plugins in the middle of doing all this because I do have a backlog. There's some stereo effect plugins that I've got going. there is the plugin that you didn't hear today, which was Airwindows Dirt. And Airwindows Dirt is like Airwindows Edge in the way that you can make it suit a guitar sound. But rather than using lots of stages and hard clipping, it's using lots of stages and the algorithm I used for tube. So it gets a softer, spongier tone, and that will probably be very useful for a bunch of different guitar sounds with Airwindows cabs. So yeah, today we just got a big jump in the way of in-the-box guitar making. And, you know, anybody who is not able to, for whatever reason, do a guitar amp in their room or in their apartment or whatever, and you can't put up an amp and some microphones and get just the right kinds of amps and invest in all of that kind of stuff and then be able to record either quietly or super duper loud. Well, now you can do something that's kind of like that. Cabs can be adjusted to whatever target you're looking for the most part. There's a bunch of different sounds that it can get. And it's all in tweaking those various parameters, which don't exist anywhere else. I don't think anybody else has some of those things. And knowing what you're shooting for. Like if you're looking for something clean and punchy and so on, and you're thinking, oh, loud, it's super duper loud, you might turn up the room loudness really high, making it be like the loudness of, aircraft carrier guns and landing 747s and so on. The Douglas Adams band Disaster Area. And you wouldn't be wanting to do that. If you wanted a small confined sound, you would pad the speaker cabinet volume so that you had a little more articulation, so you weren't compressing the air as hard as you could. And it's on a slider. It's a plugin. It's on a slider. Another thing that you might try out is if you have stomp boxes, which I was not using with my demo just now. I was using a plugin stomp box. I was using Airwindows Guitar Conditioner to simulate a Tube Screamer style sound. But if you have real stomp boxes, you can use those as part of your DI chain and then run into either Edge and Dirt, or you can use your own distortions as well as stomp boxes and run only into cab and get your sound that way. It'll probably be kind of advantageous. I think that being able to do some of the distortion work in the analog domain will help you as far as getting sounds in the box without having to go and set up a speaker and get really good microphones and get really good microphone preamps and the whole 9 yards. Because you can get a very good sound out of using real stuff. I do still swear by that. I have not replaced that. But if you know what you get, then you can get closer using something like Airwindows cabs, and that could be a very workable solution. And of course, you can use it for special effects as well. It doesn't have to be just guitar sounds. You can put it on synths, you can put it on drums, you can do anything you want with it. Thanks for your attention. I am, especially with this massive updating thing, a little overextended these days. I'm taking on kind of a lot. It's kind of fun, and it's kind of exhausting. So some days I'm grinding through the live streams and being really tired, but the way this works is I will get through this process, and I will deliver you all the things that you wanted, and let Airwindows cabs be an example of the kind of stuff that I want to do going forwards. I hope you like it. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.